Hi guys, welcome to my new tarot series. I'll be going through each and every card in the deck and just explaining a little bit of the meanings of the cards and which level of consciousness they're referencing. Of course, the best way to learn the cards is to work with them yourself and practice, practice, practice. So a couple of the meanings that I'll be going through are of course research meanings, and I'll show you the main books that I work with. I am bilingual in English and German, but some of the books you'll be able to find in English as well. So what else? Then I won't give too much background on the tarot because those of you that are watching this probably already know the tarot background, how the tarot came into being, what the consensus currently is as to how old it is and what purpose it served initially, and so on and so forth. If you have no idea, you can go right ahead and research. There's a world of information out there. But this is mainly focused on my interpretations and what we can draw from the cards. So each time I'll be working with several different cards and several different depictions, but always with my favorite from the Wizard of Oz as kind of a basis. Okay, so let's see here. Let me turn my email off. Alrighty, so let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about the Fool card. The Fool is a lot of people place it at the beginning of the tarot, but the Fool is actually the number 0. And 0 is actually not a number. Numbers are from 1 to whatever, but 0 is not a number. It kind of swims outside of it all. 0 describes a state of being, right? So the Fool has received the number 0, and so it describes a state of being more than it describes a level of consciousness or awareness, more than it describes a thought process, more than it describes anything, right? And that's exactly what about the Fool is. It doesn't really describe anything. It's one of my most favorite cards in the deck because of that. It's a very simple energy. It just is. This is the initial energy that shoots out from the what is going on. I'm sorry, I had to turn my phone off. It's like you're sitting there, nobody texts you, you start to do something and everybody's texting, which is great because it means I'm loved, so I do appreciate, but it's uncanny, the timing sometimes. Anyhow, the Fool, so it represents it's being represented, it received that number 0, which isn't actually a number. It describes a state of being. It's the initial expression out of the Godhead, which you can also see in the Kabbalah on the Tree of Life. The Fool takes the first path. See, all 22 paths have been assigned to tarot cards. For those of you that don't know anything about the Kabbalah, I'll post some links below. You can start your research there. But it's a Hebrew mystic system that describes consciousness and the flow of life itself, the flow of consciousness, the flow of life. And it's 10 Sephiroth, and each Sephiroth exists in 4 different worlds. And so each world becomes more and more, describes 4 different aspects of consciousness, basically. And as you move down through the tree, through the Sephiroth, which are arranged in a specific order, you move from concept to manifestation, right? So the Fool takes the first path from the first Sephiroth, which is called the crown, to the second one, which is called Chokmah. I hope I pronounced that right. Chokmah. And the Fool is right there as the first. It's the impulse that has been manifested, right? So that impulse has shot into this realm, because everything that is outside of this realm of our mental space, right, our conscious space, is something that cannot be described, right? It still exists in some form, but we just can't describe it, so we just don't go there, okay? So the Fool is that initial impulse of God to be, to express itself, and it bursts out, right, into this this existence. So the Fool is also equated to the Big Bang. So it's moving from the crown, which is equated to the Big Bang kind of thing, to Chokmah, which is then equated to the zodiac. But again, I'll post some links below because it's just too much, too complicated to get into. I want to stick to the tarot. So I'll show you the first card that I wanted to discuss. And the first card is a very, I should have had the Rider-Waite cards here, but I don't. So, not even the Crowley. I just never work with them, so I don't think about them. So the Fool, but this is pretty typical for a Rider-Waite depiction, and we'll start off with this one. This is the Deviant Moon. So you can see the Deviant Moon Fool here and how he's mindlessly, it seems, jumping through water, which is also representative of emotion. So we know that this impulse or this energy is able to move emotions. It's able to move energy. It's able to shift energy. It's able to be aware of energy, right? The fish is the instinct and the intuition, just jumping. But the fish can represent many different aspects of consciousness, which is bringing information in a way to the Fool, and the Fool can choose to partake of that or not. It can choose to look at that or not. And the Fool doesn't let itself be restricted by anything. It is just pure being that is just very playful, very innocent, very out there, very unlimited in its scope. There's no structure to this, right? To this energy. Here we see a different depiction from the Fountain Tarot. And we see here the courageous part of the Fool, how this energy that is so out there, so primal, right? There's nothing else it can be but courageous because it is completely unaware of any dangers, of anything, of fear. It's unaware of fear. It just purely is. It has no concept, no awareness, no consciousness of limitation, which is what fear really is, right? It's a limitation. It limits us, and it's a block in our thinking. It's a stop to our thinking. It's a or it causes that energy, that flow of energy, to stop. Another interesting depiction that we can look at is this one from the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot, which shows the first spark, the initiation, the initial beginnings in the egg, surrounded by the held in the mouth of the serpent. And the serpent is known in voodoo circles as Dambalawedo or Aida-Wedo. Aida would be the female half, Dambala would be the male half. But these are the creative principles, the creative energy, the new beginnings, the creators of the new. And here they are bringing this egg a very new beginning. And my most favorite depiction, and this is where we're going to stay for a while because there's just so much information on the card, is this one. As you can see, the energy is really beautifully captured here. Up along the top, he has all the zodiac signs and the planetary signs, right? So just like we said, the Fool encompasses this. Then he has down here, and we'll dive into that a little bit, the Rune Dagaz and the symbol for Uranus. This is very Uranian energy. So Uranian energy, it's named after the god Uranus, which is ancient classical Greece, was the sky god, was the god of the sky, who was the son and the husband of Gaia, the earth. And this sky god mated with Gaia and created the Titans. The Titans ended up killing their father, and through the, or well, not killing, but emasculating, castrating. So, and through this castration, new gods arose. And that was actually the beginning of our cycle with these new gods as the old god passed away. So Uranus represented an ancient primal force that we didn't really have access to anymore. And so this is, and so because we don't have access to it in our consciousness, it comes across as an energy that is very deep, very primal, very unusual, very, it lies outside of our logic and our calculations. So it's surprising, it's sudden, it's electric, Uranian energy. So this card is depicting that kind of primal energy that comes from deep within the layers of being that we don't access with our consciousness. And this bright spark of beingness just shoots out without form, without concept, without attachments, without ideologies, without anything that could limit it in any way. It just is. Hence the zero, which describes a state of being. Hence Uranus, these beginnings. And here we have the rune Dagaz, which is also very interesting. The rune Dagaz. So Dagaz, which also is the root of the word day, by the way, that goes off. But Dagaz represents quite literally the day. It actually represents that breaking point, dawn or dusk. It represents the rainbow bridge that Heimdall guards, that connects our world of existence to the world of the gods. Dagaz represents that space in between two different states of being, and the switch and the flip that happens. So when you have too much of one state, it automatically flips into another. And living in a dualistic universe, that's exactly what happens. When something gets too negative to the point of it not being able to be sustained anymore, it flips. When something's very positive and high flying, it flips. So Dagaz helps us to come to terms with these two different and non-unified aspects of experience, right? Because they haven't been unified, because we experience day and night. We experience good and bad. We experience up and down. We experience forward and backward, right? So these are two distinct states of being, right? And you can't unify them into one. It's either or. And yet here you have that rune Dagaz, which is showing you the unification of these two distinct states of being. Let me see. The Fool, there we go. The Fool is also representative of unifying these two states of being. And the only way that these two states of being can be unified is through non-distinction, non-judgment, non-discernment. And there you have the energy and the essence and the consciousness of the Fool card. Right? Completely non-judgmental, non-distinctive, non-discerning, nothing. Right? So there is nothing that it can measure anything by. There are no measurements in this state of being. And through that, it can unify two different, very distinct states of being. Dagaz also shows, let me see, I'll show you one of the books where that is really, it's called The Leaves of Yggdrasil. This is one of my absolute go-to books. I think it's out of print now. It's called The Leaves of Yggdrasil by Freya Aswin, so you guys can look her up. I think it's called The Leaves of Yggdrasil in English because that's what it is in German. So, and it's about runes, gods, magic, northern mythology, and female mysteries, right? So we have here Odin, Papa on the front part. So what she says is she dives really deep. Like Freya was one of those that went very, very, very deep into rune knowledge, and her books are really to be recommended because she writes a lot of really deep information that you won't find in from any other source. So she also writes that in rune magic, you can use Dagaz or work with Dagaz, the runes Dagaz, in order to make things unseen or unviewable, right? To make something invisible. So the Dagaz rune would be set into a circle, which marks the four directions, and it turns this circle into a place in between the worlds. So it puts itself in between light and dark. And you can also cloak yourself in a Dagaz rune, and people will not notice you. And they cannot notice you because we automatically notice things by way of discernment and excluding. So this is white, that is black, this is blue, that is green. And as we automatically, our brain categorizes, but with the Dagaz, it doesn't. So it becomes invisible to us, right? As it melds into the background of all that is, of all that exists. So this is the energy of the Fool. The Fool is a very powerful energy, but we don't really recognize it in our day-to-day lives because it has this invisibility factor, because we don't really we aren't able to categorize it, we aren't able to put it in a box to get a grip on it. So but when you look through your daily life, within every second, every minute of your existence, there is a new beginning, right? There's always this primal energy that is pouring through everything, right? Always, constantly keeping this whole thing alive, right? But it's all the way at the base of our being. We don't realize, we don't think about our breathing, we don't think about our cells and how they work, and that every minute there are cells that are dying off and new cells that are being born. We don't think about much of the processes that happen on a consistent basis to ensure this entire thing keeps going, right? So this is partially the Fool energy, right? Just flowing in, a very powerful energy, but it's so powerful and so silent, so running in the background without distinction, without anything, that we kind of overlook it very often. One of my most favorite cards. The Fool also, let's see, another book that I can recommend is the handbook. I don't even know if this exists in English, but it's for the Crowley Tarot, actually, and it's decoding the Crowley Tarot. It's the handbook, and it's by Angelus Arian, so you guys can look that up on Amazon and see if you get it. But it's an incredible book. I highly recommend it. And so everything is depicted on a deep psychological level, on a deep collective psychological, but also personal psychological level. So they speak here of the Fool being an alchemist and uniting feelings, water, with energy and vision, fire, to bring out original and innovative ideas, which would be the swords, and to through that hone his talents, which would be the suit of the pentacles. They also talk about the ecstatic adventure of growth and to unfoldment, right? That comes through the Fool energy. But most of all, what I wanted to say here is if you want to work with Fool energy, and there's some meditations that I can recommend. For example, working with the Rune Dagaz, you can, for example, you can walk this form, or you can picture in your mind white light flowing in through your, I don't know how this is going to turn out for you, but this is my right eye, so it might flip, but I'm not sure. Anyways, this is my right eye, so I'd start off with white light, pure white light, or rainbow light, whatever you feel comfortable with, coming in through my eye, right eye, right, hitting the back of my head, going forward then to my left eye, to then go back, hit the back of my head, and then move forward again to my right eye. And there you have the Rune Dagaz. And guess what's in the middle, at the crossing point of that rune? Your third eye. Yes, your pineal gland. So it's right there in the center of the crossing of the Dagaz rune. And when you do that meditation and you pull in the light and you allow it to circulate in this form, and you really concentrate on moving that light through your mind, you'll feel this spark in your third eye grow brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter until it's completely illuminating your being, and you're sitting in a different mind space. Practice that Fool energy. Alrighty, so that was a short, brief video, I hope, on the energy of the Fool card, and how you can bring it in to readings is New beginnings. This card represents new spontaneous beginnings that come in out of nowhere, that are often surprising. So this can be surprising gifts, messages, exchanges, information, a lot of surprising things that you weren't expecting, right? So things that blow your expectations, that are outside of the realm of your logic, outside of the realm of your being able to expect it to happen or thinking about it to happen. This is the Wild card, the Joker card. This is the Fool that the universe tosses out every now and then to shake things up a little. I'm wishing you a wonderful day, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave your comments below, and I will continue with the series tomorrow. Take care.